I'm going
Okay.
live now.
Oh, I see. Yes, I see it says live. So we're definitely live. By the way, I love this new interface when I use it on my phone because I haven't used Zoom on my phone, I don't think yet. But I really like it better than Google Hangouts. It's very nice, very crisp. So anyway, with the subject that we're talking about, burials versus cremation, it's not something I've really thought about a lot. But my sister kind of talked to me about this once. She says that she prefers cremation because she doesn't want to be a burden to her children. And cremation, it's more inexpensive. Also, she loves nature because we grew up in the mountains. And her thought was she wants to be cremated so she could have her ashes spread in the forest, because we always grew up walking in the forest, and that just to her feels more personal than having this grave site. And for me, I never really thought much about it, but this was my feeling about like cemeteries. When I was younger, our family went to go visit one, and maybe I wasn't appreciative enough of it at the time because now I like genealogy, but I don't really always like to visit cemeteries. It's just my reaction. Like there's one in San Bernardino when you're driving up the mountain, and I always just feel kind of creepy driving, but I know that it's part of the cycle of life. But I just personally, I don't like visiting cemeteries. It's not like I'm not one of those people that wants to go and, but I understand like it's respectful to visit the dead, but there's a lot of questions, you know. In the immediate generation, people will take care of a tombstone if they live nearby, but then what if you move away or you live far away? Like, are you going to be able to take care of that burial plot? And then what happens in the third to fourth generation when people, they don't even know who their great grandparents were, unless you're doing like genealogical research, then you're kind of learning about all that. But most people, they don't know all 16 of their great grandparents, great great grandparents. So are they going to go visit the burial plots of all those people? Are they going to take care of them? I don't know. I always wonder about those things. So it's kind of a good question. Like, do you think that cremation might be more practical in the long term and short term? I kind of think it is. I never thought about this before. Like I'm one of these people, I always feel like death is kind of macabre. I don't like to think about it, like especially with Halloween coming up. People love like thinking about this topic, but I've just always been of the school of mind, like I want to live in the present. I don't want to think about these kind of things, you know, like I don't like thinking about this subject matter, but it seems to really fascinate people. So that's just my take on the whole subject, you know. And I guess we can ask the viewers, like, what do they think? Like, are you more wanting to like buy a burial plot, or do you believe in cremation? I think I'm going to not like think about this much in my own life, but I think cremation is more practical, and many cultures practice it. So I guess you have to just decide like which side you're gonna be on. But my only experience really with like visiting a graveyard was when I was younger, of my ancestors, and that was many years ago. And they weren't even distant ancestors; they were just like great grandparents. When we were in Kansas, and I've never been back because I don't go to Kansas, and that was a special trip. My grandpa had to take us to that particular cemetery. So anyway, were you able to share everything, Aya?
I have managed to change it so it would show what we're talking about, because before it was pretending that it was all about Mary Shelley, you know, because that was the last one I did.
Oh yeah.
So now it shows that we're talking about death and burial and cremation. And now the question is, can I share it? But maybe I can share it a different way. So I'm going to try to share it here on my phone.
You know, iPhone's really good for sharing. Well, I don't know about the older models, but I discovered something so much better than the Android. You just tap it and it says, do you want to copy this? And then you go in and you paste it. And that's how I'm live streaming. By the way, for anybody that wants to try Zoom, I downloaded the Zoom software to my phone, but maybe I didn't even have to, because get this. When you sent me the link, I just copied it and I put it in my Safari browser and this popped up. So I don't even think I had to download the Zoom app on my end. So if somebody wants to live stream, let's say with somebody that just has like an iPad or a phone, they can send that link to somebody with their iPhone and the person can copy the link and put it into Safari and it pops up so seamlessly. It's pretty nice, actually. Like, I have to say, the one thing the drawback I don't like about the iPhone is the Wi-Fi is not as strong as Android phones. However, the interface and the graphics are beautiful. Like, this is nice, like compared to my Android. It's really clear, so, and pretty easy to get on to a live stream. So that's my take on live streaming with Zoom if you're inviting somebody via an iPhone. It's pretty good.
Right. So I was interrupted while I was trying to share this because somebody was trying to call me, and I had to decline the call. So
okay,
everything
unless it's important, I don't want you to.
Yeah.
Do you need to, like, if it's important, I don't want
to. No, I'm just posting this on my other YouTube channel.
Nice. That was another thing I was gonna say about not really on topic, but with Facebook, if you don't like respond to every single message that people send you on your Facebook page, it says your response rate is really low, but I don't think that's fair, because what if somebody's just spamming a business and they don't want to respond to all those comments, and that could like really lower their response rate. So I wouldn't go off the response rate that Facebook gives to a business page or like any kind of blogger page, because you don't know what kind of messages people are sending that page. A lot of it could be spam, and if you're not responding to it, it's going to lower that person's rate, and I just don't think that's fair. I think that's ridiculous. Like, it should not like give a response rate. So I think that's why a lot of businesses have stopped like saying contact us on Facebook or social media, because it just causes too much confusion. So anyway, were you able to share everything, Aya?
Not yet, because here's the thing. I'm trying to tweet and now it says I'm not logged into Twitter. Do you think Twitter has done something where you have to constantly
your password?
Yeah.
You know, with Twitter, I haven't even logged in weeks because I don't know what it is. Like, I used to like Twitter, but something just happened recently where I had a really hard time logging in, and I knew my password was correct. I hadn't changed my password. Oh, but get this. I got a really scary letter from Cafe Press last night, and I'm considering deleting my entire Cafe Press account because I've never sold anything with Cafe Press. I'm like Zazzle. I just never sold anything there. And I got this really scary letter saying that there was a security data breach back on February 19th that they're now just becoming aware of, and that some people's like information could have been compromised. And I'm like, why did they take so long to get back to us about that? I guess they didn't realize until recently.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so I've now tweeted it, so we are good. Good. I'm not sharing any place else. I actually am not sharing it on my Facebook as far as I know, because you know what? A lot of people on Facebook are just not that interested.
Well, you know, I will share it on my Facebook page because I think there are some people that I have a few people, like there's a couple of friends, they actually do watch us. They don't want to be on the show. Like this one lady I asked, she doesn't want to be on the show, but she says she watches us. So I will definitely share it on my Facebook page because I know there's a few people that watch us that might like to watch the replay later. So I'll share it then.
But do you have access, just in case somebody were to want to chat with us, do you have access to?
No, I don't, because I'd have to have brought my other device. If I brought my other device, because I'm afraid if I minimize this, I'm gonna go away. I don't know what's gonna happen. That's my only okay. I want to say we haven't really been getting a lot of chat, but what you could do is you could have the iPhone up. And what I usually do when I'm at home with the computer, I have my computer running and then I have the iPhone and I can check comments on the iPhone. You could do that. You can look at the stream and see if somebody's commenting on the iPhone maybe.
I don't know. Let me try that.
I should have brought the little Android with me, but I just wanted to make it on time, so I didn't grab it. I'm in this little industrial.
Okay, so I can look at the live chat, and I tried to put something there. I put chat here, but it looks like chat hurry because the other thing that has happened on my bigger computer, I mean my new computer, is that all of a sudden everything in YouTube is so small I can't even read what it says.
Ew.
Yeah.
Why? Does your computer tech person have a solution for that?
Oh, I don't currently have a computer tech person.
Well, no, what I do sometimes is you can just call the tech store and you can just ask them over the phone, and sometimes they'll just give you advice. Like you can just call, I don't know, Best Buy or something. You could just be, this is happening with my computer. And sometimes over the phone, if you get a younger, hopeful person, they might just have a solution like, oh, you need to do this or something. It's worked for me a couple of times. But anyway, I don't know. That's strange. Did you do the X++, Control++? Maybe that would fix the issue.
Control++?
Yeah, where you do the control button and then the plus, which should maximize the size of the screen. And ideally that should make YouTube bigger again if it's going small on your screen. It may have just got into a minimized screen mode.
Oh, okay, that worked. Thank you.
Okay. Because I was trying to figure out. Good.
So you are currently my tech person.
Yeah, I know a lot about technology. I actually have to I have to be sometimes at home to Google something if it's not working properly. So anyway.
Yeah, so now I can see it. So I can see the chat. Obviously I'm the only person who has chatted.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out where should I look to see how many people are watching?
In YouTube, it will say underneath the title of the it'll say 2 people watching, 6 people watching. That's where I'm able to see it. So it should be in the same box where you can see live chat. Underneath the title, it'll say 1 person watching, 2 people watching. It can go up and down. By the way, on Friday, a lot of people weren't commenting, but we had sometimes up to 6 people watching at times.
Okay. Does it have to, I guess it has to be running for that to say, right? So I'm now running it.
You'd have to keep that window open, yes.
Okay, because I had it stopped. So now I'm behind where we were.
Oh yeah, it's always gonna be a 10-second delay in because I've tested that over the last year and a half with streaming. When you do a live stream, it's always a 10-second delay. Sometimes it's a 35-second delay. It can vary.
Okay, yeah, there's just 1 person watching now. That could be me.
Oh no, usually we have more, but it is Sunday. By the way, since it's Sunday, I think this is kind of an appropriate topic because on Sunday, a lot of people think about, well, if you're more of the Christian type, it's the Sabbath, but it's, actually Saturday traditionally.
Yeah. Yeah. As a matter of fact, if you watched my video where I went to Israel and I visited the various cemeteries, there was actually a quote from the Bible on this wall. And I translated it myself because when I looked it up, in the King James, the translation was really weird. So it's from Jeremiah. Here's our Bible lesson for today. It's from Jeremiah 31:19. And it's not the whole verse. So I'm going to read you the whole verse, and then I'll tell you which part was on the wall, because it wasn't the whole
Okay.
verse. Okay, so it says, Haben yakir li Ephraim, im yeled shashuim, ki midei dabri bo, zachor ezkerenu od, al ken hamum me'ai, lo rachem rachmeno ne'um yova. Okay, so once you read the whole verse, it's pretty complicated. It's the whole verse is Ephraim is a dear son to me, a child of joy. That when I talk about him, I will still remember him. So my innards are making noises, which is kind of funny. And I am feeling sorry for him. I want to show mercy to him. Said, this is the speech of Jehovah. Okay, he said, okay, but that whole thing is not up on that wall.
Okay.
There's just a tiny part of it, and it's the part that just says, when I talk about him, I will remember him still or more. Okay, so when we go to the cemetery and we see that, what do you think we think it means?
Well, I would think it means like you think about that person that passed on, right? That you still have their memory with you.
Yes. Yeah. That's how I took it when I read it. I didn't, know the whole verse. So when I read it, I was just thinking, oh, good. This is a very secular kind of verse, because it's really not about God. It's not about religion. It just says, when we talk about the people that are no longer here, as we remember them more as we talk about them. So it's good to talk about the people that we know that have passed on.
For sure. And actually, I had a sociology class where it was an introductory sociology class, but one of the course modules was about how the funeral, it's not really for the dead person, because the person's dead, they're gone, they don't know what's going on, but it's really for the people that want to mourn that person and get together and memorialize that person.
Right, exactly. So yeah, that's what I think it means. But if you look up that verse, in any kind of translation, it doesn't seem like it's about that at all.
Oh, could it just be that people are not like translating the Hebrew correctly? Like with all these translations, they don't really understand the language, and there's been so many translations that the original meaning has been lost to some or diluted. I don't know.
I don't think that's it. It's probably some context in Jeremiah that, there's probably a valid reason for why they're looking at it that way. But it's just not, I don't think that's how the people who put together the cemetery meant it to be understood.
Okay, that's interesting to think about.
Yeah, because really the Israeli attitude toward the Bible is, the average Israeli attitude toward the Bible is very, very different from
the American religious perspective, right?
Right, exactly. So we go in there, we're totally not offended by it. It doesn't matter whether we are a believer or not, because all it seems to say is that when we talk about the people who have passed on, we remember them more. That's all.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, also too, why do we get offended by everything all the time? Like, we're always looking for a reason to be offended, and that shouldn't be offensive. Like, not everything should be offensive. Maybe sometimes you just need to step away if you're offended by that. I don't know.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So I thought that tour of the cemeteries was fairly interesting.
Hmm.
And I don't I don't think it was morbid, you know.
No,
I mean,
not at all. I liked that video. I commented, by the way. I don't know if you saw my comment.
yes, yes, I did. Yeah, you commented about not having thought about cremation before, but now you realize that, well, you can repeat your comment better
Well,
than me.
I never really thought about cremation before. My sister had mentioned it, but now it makes more sense to me that that's a logical solution. Like, let's say you live far away from like your family and you just have a few children, or you don't have children, or if you just maybe don't want to burden your family, or you don't have like a large amount of finances to plan a large burial plot. And also too, you can't guarantee your ancestors will always be there. Your descendants, I mean, your descendants, not your ancestors. That would be time travel of the most more spooky kind. Your descendants would always be able to visit your burial plot and clean it, or like maintain it, or just do things for it. Because I was kind of iterating all that a little bit while you were trying to share it. I was just thinking, now that I'm doing genealogy over the last few years, I know who all my great grandparents were, but I didn't know who all those people were until I started doing genealogy research. And I think most people living their daily lives, are they going to know every single great grandparent that they had? Or then you go to the next level, like great great grandparent, and that's just 100 years ago. Are they going to show respect to their ancestors? Like in some cultures they do, but they do that differently. Like, don't the Chinese do cremation in general? Or like, I'm not sure about the Chinese. Some of them probably have burial plots, but I know some Asian cultures cremation is pretty common, right?
Yeah, I don't really know exactly what they do, but I can share with you they do have a holiday where you get off of work and school, and it's called Tomb Sweeping Holiday.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of interesting because I was in Taiwan when my father died, and
Mm-hmm.
my father wanted to be cremated and to have his ashes scattered over Israel and the Sinai. So we didn't do it. He was cremated, but we didn't do the part where we scattered the ashes until later because we needed to all get together to be able to do that.
Yeah, to me that makes sense. That's a
Okay, so do you know when we went? It was actually, I think, very close to Passover in Israel when we went there, but in where I was in Taiwan, it was the tomb sweeping holiday.
oh wow.
So I actually went on the tomb sweeping holiday to Israel. Sword and I flew from Taipei through Thailand, and it's the opposite way of the way we usually fly to Israel. We flew from the east instead of from the
Yeah.
west. And so we arrived in Israel, and my mother had my father's ashes, and all of this was completely illegal because there's no separation of church and state in Israel,
Okay.
and you're not allowed to cremate, and you're not
Oh,
allowed to scatter ashes.
okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and there's something called Cheva Kadisha, and they're part of the rabbinate, and they tell you how you're allowed to bury people or not.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, I know there's a lot of traditions, so people, even if they're secular, they probably want to respect, I guess, certain traditions. I suppose where
Yeah,
that.
but they don't really have a lot of choice anyway. But
Well,
anyway,
they don't have choice. Yeah, you're right.
they don't have much choice. So we hired a private pilot, and he had a little hole at the bottom of the plane. It was a small plane, and the people who went were myself and my brother and a friend of my father's, along with the pilot. And we scattered the ashes over Israel and the Sinai, and we
Wow.
We landed at Sharm el-Sheikh, and which is under Egyptian rule.
Yeah, I know where that is. Yeah, wow. I've
Yeah.
never been to any of these places, but I get so interested like when you mention it. But anyway,
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I guess I could show you a souvenir that I got from there. Would you like to see that?
of course, yes.
Okay, well, you keep talking and I'll go get it. Okay.
Okay. So like I'm just very interested when Aya's talking about all these different locations. I can't tell you why, like, but all my life, like when I hear about Israel or the Sinai Peninsula or like Syria or Jordan or anywhere in that proximity, like I feel like very like it resonates with me. Like so interesting because I've never been there. It's just so it's like just hearing people. I'm like it's so fascinating. It's part of the world that I always found the most fascinating. Really, very intrigued by. But I think that's really neat that I was able to do that. And I'm learning a lot today. Like I did not know, by the way, everybody, and you might not know either. And you should watch this about how in Israel there's laws for burial and cremation. Those are things I did not know. I was just telling everybody I didn't know about all these burial laws in Israel and how I'm learning so much. It's really fascinating.
Yeah. So I don't know if you can see this. Can you see this?
I could see the edge of it, but like you need to put it in front of your face, maybe. Like, maybe if let's see. Now you disappeared. I just
Okay. Maybe I should stop whatever it is I'm doing to I don't know how to do that.
you know, is there a way you can maybe just hold it up in front of your face and it will show? Like, can you do that? Oh no, it disappeared.
It's in front of me.
Yeah.
Oh,
now
well.
just, I know what's happening because you have a monochromatic background. It's doing that green screen thing, and it's just thinking, oh, like that should be part of.
Okay, I guess I can't show you anything in that case. Can you see me at all?
I can see you perfectly. Yeah, I see you perfectly. What it is it's a green screen backdrop, and that's why it doesn't work with my background because I have all that light coming in my room. But because you have like the monotone background, like it shows you, unless you move slightly, but you're perfectly visible right now.
Okay, am I centered? Because I've got so many things on the screen, I can't tell.
You're pretty centered. It's good. Okay. I can see like the lake, which I like. I like to see the river, the little creek. It's more of a creek, not a river.
It's a current river.
It is a river. Okay, I didn't want to call it the thing because some people get really heated, like creek versus river, and I'm like, I wasn't sure if I should call it a river or not.
No, it's definitely a river. It's called the Current River, and it has a very nice current that even if you're not paddling, it will just carry you along.
So you could literally get carried away. I'm just kidding.
That's right, you can. The hardest thing for me was to stop, to just like stay in one spot. I didn't quite know how to do that.
Just don't find yourself up the river without a paddle. Oh my gosh.
Right. Anyway. Now, yeah, for a moment, I just saw a photo of you instead of yourself. So that was strange.
You know what's weird? Because my phone says that it was running low on battery life, and I had to tell it, no, I'm fine. And then what did you see when I did that? You saw a photo of me?
Yeah, a photo of you instead of your live view.
That's strange. I don't know. What photo was it? Like from my Facebook page or?
I don't know. It had sort of a pink background, I think.
Oh, okay. I'll have to look and see, but that's weird. I don't know why I did that, but I just got this message saying, does your phone, like it's just a message about my phone running low on battery, but I just told it I'm fine. Like, I'm at 20%. It's not going to die. It just always warns you before, like, you can actually go like a couple hours on 20%. Like I've tested it out. It's perfectly fine.
Oh, okay. All right. So the situation in Israel is actually they're starting to run out of space to bury people because, they have limited space. And so now they are burying people on top of other people.
Oh.
You know, so it's not a really great situation, even for those who do wish to be buried. Which gives me the segue to the other topic I wanted. Remember, you mentioned that some people in the United
Oh,
States found out their house was on top of a
oh,
burial
yeah.
ground.
Yeah, I really want to talk about this because, okay, I'm a big Unsolved Mysteries fan. Like, I love it. I love watching it. And we found out recently, like a year ago, like Rise Entertainment has uploaded all the old episodes for free on YouTube. So you can go back and watch all these old Unsolved Mysteries YouTube videos for free on YouTube. So there was an episode where it takes place in Texas. These families had saved up their life savings to buy these houses and this beautiful new housing development. And, you know, this family wanted to put it in a pool. And one day somebody knocked on the door and they said, you know, your house is buried on top of an African American burial cemetery, plot. And the lady's like, really? And she didn't know what to think about that. So when the backhoe came, instead of starting to dig for the pool, she decided to start digging where they told them that the grave site had been. So they dug up this grave, and lo and behold, 8 feet below the ground in a wooden box, because people buried people in what kind of, I know people think, oh, well, they can have the most beautiful casket in the world, the most expensive, but you're still, you're going to pass away. People use what they had, and they found this couple. So the couple felt really bad about the whole situation. So they reburied the couple in their front yard, and they made like a nice little, I guess, flower plot, just to be respectful of them, because they felt really bad about what happened. Now, the part of the story, like, I don't know if I believe in all this, but people who believe in paranormal they said weird things started happening, like on the anniversary of the day when the one woman had her birthday, I suppose, her red shoes disappeared. And she looked out her window the next morning, and she says they ended up on top of the plot. And she thinks there was a ghost that was like bringing the red shoes as a gift to that woman. That's the part I don't really get into. Like, that's the paranormal stuff. Like, I don't know about all that. But it was just kind of an entertaining episode to watch. But the part that was interesting was just the fact, the reality of how sometimes housing developments and churches are built on top of old cemeteries. And this is true in Pitcairn, by the way, because I believe their school and part of their town square is built on their old cemetery plot, because they don't have enough land. Like, it's only, I think, 2 square miles, the whole island, and very few parts that are like kind of flat. So they actually built some buildings on an old cemetery plot. So this happens in a lot of places, actually.
Right. Yeah. So when you were talking about that, it kind of reminded me of this movie that I saw. It's a 2001 movie. It's called The Body. I think I sent you a link to that. Did you get a chance to look at it at all? I know.
I looked at it, but I didn't get a chance to watch it. Like, I really do want to. I'm kind of interested because Antonio Banderas. Like, I like his act. It sounds like a good story, but maybe you can just share a little synopsis with us and everything.
Yeah, so it's based on a book by somebody named Ben Sapil called The Body. And the premise is that this Israeli archaeologist, at least in the movie, that's how it was, this Israeli archaeologist uncovers under somebody's store, and they just wanted to build a basement to their store somewhere in Jerusalem. And there's a tomb of a rich person. You could tell it's a rich person's tomb. And there's a body, and the body has clearly been crucified.
Wow.
And so she begins to suspect that that is Jesus, Jesus of Nazareth.
Yeah.
That famous one.
Yeah. So,
this creates a controversy, and the Catholic Church sends sends a priest, and yes, it's a very sexy priest because he's played by Antonio Banderas.
I'm sure there's handsome priests, but I just don't how maybe sometimes.
Anyway, I'm not going to tell the whole story, but basically the conflict is between the secular Israeli archaeologist and the believing priest.
I'll have to watch it. Like I did want to watch it. I just was kind of running short on time, but I would love to see it. It sounds like an interesting movie, and it kind of reminds me of that episode with, oh, we want to build a swimming pool, but by the way, there's a burial plot underneath where we were planning to build a swimming pool.
Right, exactly. Because I think one of the funniest lines in that movie is, "All I wanted to do was build a basement." You know,
I know. I wasn't.
That's right at the beginning. So obviously the people, and I think they're probably I don't know what they are. They might be Muslim. And there are all these other people coming around and protesting, these religious Jews and these Christians, these Catholics. Everybody's making such a big to do about it. And those people who own that place, all they wanted to do was build a basement.
That's funny. Isn't it funny how all the different factions of religions, they'll fight with each other, but then something like this happens and they all band together. They're all like, yeah, we band together in that circumstance.
Well, actually, they don't exactly band together. I mean, there's this huge conflict. Okay, there's a huge conflict about really religious doctrine.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yeah, because you're supposed to believe that he, that his body was, I don't know, levitated or something. And
and the Muslims don't believe that, and neither do the Jews. So the Christians are fighting with both, I'm guessing, or.
Well, it's complicated. It's complicated because it also political issues come into play.
Oh yeah, it sounds like I totally get it. Yeah, so but it sounds like a good story to watch. Like as long as you're
I liked it.
Yeah, I would love to watch it. I would think it would be funny to see, like, and I love like movies from that part of the world. Like I was telling everybody earlier when you went to go get your thing, I'm like, I'm always so fascinated by Israel, Egypt, Lebanon, and Syria. Like that part of the world just fascinates me. Like hearing stories. It's like the part of the world I find the most fascinating, I guess. Like,
yeah.
So
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so it sounds like a good movie to watch. That's all I was gonna say.
Yeah, I don't know that it's necessarily the world's greatest movie, but I liked the way it set up the problem. It seemed like the right attitude, to this kind of conflict.
Yeah, like a more rational approach as opposed to being like, oh my gosh, like.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, Antonio Banderas is very good in this one.
Yeah, I'm sure he's very good in this one. I haven't seen a lot of his later roles, but I remember watching many of his older like things in the 90s, and I like him quite a bit.
Well, at the time when I was thinking about Jean Lafitte and watching this movie, I thought Antonio Banderas would be great as Jean Lafitte.
Oh my gosh, I could totally see that. Like now I feel kind of excited, like imagining him as Jean Lafitte and like Theodosia. I could kind of imagine Theodosia, just I don't have somebody that can attribute to her, just kind of like the painting, I guess. And then like very, very sexy Jean Lafitte as Antonio Banderas.
Yeah, it's probably too late now because that was, 18 years ago. I don't know what Antonio Banderas looks like now.
I don't either, but at that time, yes, he's very, very, he would be a very good character actor, and I think he could bring a charisma to a role such as Jean Lafitte at that time period.
Right.
There's probably somebody that looks like him, that kind of looks like him, that would maybe have that essence, though. You never know. Like, I'm sure there's somebody waiting to be discovered. Hint, hint.
Right. And the thing is, because Jean Lafitte is actually had that Spanish grandmother, it just made sense that it would be Antonio Banderas rather than some French guy, you know?
Yeah, no, it definitely would, and it would kind of make sense because a lot of people actually even today in the Caribbean they have like if that mixture of like French, Spanish, African ancestry, you know,
Uh-huh.
it kind of would make
Yeah.
sense. Not that
Yes.
there's this per se, but a lot of people have that similar. So I think I it makes sense to me.
Okay. All right. So did you have any more questions about the tour of the cemeteries before we sign
Um,
off?
Okay, so I did have a question for you. Like you guys were saying that you wanted to somehow renovate the tombstone. Is that something you guys are planning on going back to Israel to do, or are you going to have a
Oh,
family?
no, no, no. You have to rewatch the video. I guess my video wasn't very clear.
Okay.
It was renovated, and then
Okay.
I showed what it was like after we put all the letters back
Okay,
on.
I'll have to maybe I wasn't paying close enough attention. I'm sorry. I thought you were saying like it needed to be fixed. So I probably just wasn't. I'll rewatch it.
Oh, yeah, no, it did need to be fixed, and we left having left instructions and having paid for it to be fixed, but then it was fixed after we left, but I showed a picture of what it looked like after it was fixed.
Okay. I'll just rewatch and I'll have to see. I did watch it pretty quickly, so I may have missed that. I just guess I picked up on the part where you guys were showing, oh, that needed to be fixed. But everybody can go rewatch the video. I will have it in the link in the
We
description.
actually do have some kind of a comment in chat, not that I know what to say to it, but there's somebody named Jaldo or Haldo Rodriguez, and he
Okay.
said, "Hello, my loves."
Okay. Maybe he's just listening. I don't know. That's nice. Hi. How you doing
Okay,
today?
I wonder whether he wants to play the part of Jean Lafitte. Maybe that's what he's
Yeah, maybe that's what he's
hinting
wanting.
at.
Maybe he's like saying, hello, I'm an actor. Consider me.
Well, we don't know yet. We'll have to consider that. Oh, he says, "My dear beloved, I love to see you talking." Okay, well, there's Julia and there's me, and we're both talking. So,
That's nice. Well, I hope he can ask some questions maybe about the subject of burials in Israel if he has any questions on the subject.
or he can tell us whether he watched the movie The Body that came out in 2001 and had Antonio Banderas in it. Are you there? Julia, can you still hear me?
I hear you. Oh, I thought you, for a minute, I thought you were, I'm sorry, am I freezing up?
Yeah, you were a little bit.
Oh no. Okay. Well, I hear you. I'm sorry, I don't know what happened. Maybe it froze up on my end. That's strange. But has the signal been okay so far?
Yeah, so
Today?
far it was good. Yeah, so far
Okay.
it has been good.
Okay, so maybe we should kind of end there. Like, so unless you wanted to, was there anything else on this subject that you wanted to cover?
No, no, what I would say is my uncle's grave was very well preserved because he was in a military burial ground, and there they had uniform graves for everyone. Nobody had a different kind of grave. The graves are very specific. They say the name of the person, the name of the person's parents, how old they were when they died, and where they died in battle.
Oh, interesting.
So his grave was very well preserved, had flowers on it and everything. My grandparents, his parents, chose to be buried in a burial ground very close to the military one, but it's not a military
It's a
grave.
private one, right? A private burial.
Yeah, and nobody maintained that, so that's why their letters fell off the tombstone. We had to go back and take care of it, and we did.
I mean, it's pretty common because think about it, like, well, as generations go by, is everybody gonna know? Like, you guys know these people, but several generations down the line, unless you have a family that's very dedicated to taking care of that burial plot of each one of their ancestors, it's totally feasible that over time the weather elements are going to deteriorate a tombstone.
Right. But then we went to Tel Aviv, and my paternal grandparents, my grandfather Tzvi, who was the rector of Tel Aviv University at the time of his death, they're buried in what you might call a posh cemetery, or a famous cemetery,
So
because,
they'll take better care, right? Of
well, it's not, I don't know, but it looked like their graves were in good condition. They weren't necessarily the cleanest. There were leaves falling on them, whatever, but the letters were there and didn't look like they would ever fall off, you know?
Oh, okay. So maybe it's the quality of the tombstone. Like if you invest in a really high quality tombstone and also being in a nicer cemetery plot, those would be factors that would ensure that your grave. Although here's just my thing, like I can't speak for like the Israeli view, but the one thing I never really resonated with the Christian kind of, I mean, I don't go to church anymore. I'm nominally Christian. I don't go to church every Sunday, but this was the weird thing about Christians. They always had to go visit the burial plot of the dead person and speak to the grave. But I always found that was kind of strange because that person's not alive anymore. And you're just speaking to the remains, and they would literally be having conversations with that person. And I couldn't really resonate with that. And I mean, it's nice. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's just not something I really could connect with, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you know, one of our practices is we put either stones or something on the monument, on the tombstone.
Mm-hmm.
So when Sword and I went to the beach, we collected seashells.
Mm-hmm.
And so we put Sword put seashells on each of the graves.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I don't know, it's just a practice. It doesn't.
Oh, I like it though.
Necessarily. Yeah.
It's nice. I mean, to me, that was more practical. Like, okay, there was a story, like a very strange story in our area where people, they bring gifts to the graveyard. Okay, like they'll put toys, they'll put things that the person liked and flowers, and they put it all around the tombstone. Okay, which, you know, I guess that's nice, but I don't think that dead person's going to necessarily appreciate those things. But there was a lady, and they caught her, by the way. She was walking up to the cemetery, and she's like, "Ooh, flowers, toys," and she was stealing things from graves. This is wrong.
Yeah.
Completely wrong. Completely wrong. But I thought that was such a strange story. I was like, wow, like that somebody would do that. She clearly had some mental issues, but it was a very strange story. They just found her walking one day away from the cemetery with a bag full of everything she was taking from. It was very, very creepy.
Yes, well, I guess there have always been people who did that. But in Israel, what they tend to do is they will plant flowering plants around the grave. So there will be natural flowers there. That certainly was the case in my uncle's grave, and they did that for each of the soldiers.
I did notice that they had really nice little flowers and some sort of bush that almost looked like a miniature cedar tree. What was that bush? The little.
I don't know. I'll have to admit I don't know, but it was very pretty.
Yeah, it's really nice.
And so you were asking me about Taiwan, and I do happen to be watching a series from Taiwan right now. It's called A Thousand Good Nights or something like that. Ichen Wan An, something. And it's about a man who adopted a little girl. He was a sort of a train station master. That was his job.
Oh.
And a woman left a little girl there, and she left a note. She told the little girl to wait for her because she was running errands, but she left a note for the train master saying, "I know you're a good person. Please take care of my little girl. I can't," or something like that. So he was married, and he had a baby girl already with his wife. And so he took this little girl who was like maybe 3 years old. And he told her that her mother had left a note for her to watch her. And the girl asked for how long. And he didn't want to tell her forever because he thought that would break her heart. So he said, well, for one, and then he went 1,000 nights.
Oh, wow.
So,
3 years.
yeah, 3 years exactly. But he said 1,000 nights, and the little girl didn't know how much that was. So she said, okay. And then he took her to this big tree and he said, this is a grandfather tree. Every night we will say good night to the grandfather tree. And when 1,000 nights are up, your mother will be back. And of course, 3 years later, the mother didn't come back. But by then, the little girl, she was part of his family. And so even though she was sad and she cried when she realized it, still, I don't know what the sound is. Is there a car by you?
Is that better? I'm sorry.
No, I don't know. There's just kind of like a motor sound.
That's weird because there was sounds before, but now it's getting worse.
No, now it's better. Yeah,
It might have just been because I changed positions. I have to keep it like this.
Okay.
But
anyway, so later, I mean, during most of this series, the guy is dead. And the daughter is retracing his steps because he wanted to go on a trip after he retired. And she's meeting all these people, either people that he wanted to apologize to because he thought he did them wrong, or just people he wanted to get back together with. She's learning more about him. And
okay.
And anyway, so he was buried by that tree, I guess. Anyway, and it was actually his ashes, I think, that were placed by the tree. So there's no marker for his grave, but his daughter likes to go over there and talk to him, and one day, one of the women that she was trying to get in touch with showed up by that tree, and she said, I'm looking for a man that was buried under a tree, but there's no marker. And then she knew she knew exactly who it was. So I thought that was interesting.
Oh, wow. That's kind of neat.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's normal in Taiwan or it's just that story.
That would be interesting to find out. Maybe do some research to see if that's a general practice or.
Yeah. So yeah, we could one day do a series about different practices for burial and for mourning the dead.
That would be really fascinating. I have to say, I guess, unfortunately, I haven't been part of like a culture where I had a lot of traditions on that, where I'm not from a large family, and I haven't had a lot of well, for instance, like with your family, like you're from Israel and you have those traditions, and I'm nominally Christian, and I know what people do, but I wouldn't say it's hard to say, it's not like a really super traditional practice. I just see people go to their grave sites and they talk with people, and that's pretty much all I've seen in my experience. But I've read about what other cultures do. I just haven't experienced much of this firsthand.
Yeah, well, we don't have a very large family, but unfortunately, many of the people that I've known during my lifetime have died.
Well, it happens. I mean, it's very, I was really sad the other day to hear about somebody who had passed away, and he was always a very nice person. He dressed like Sherlock Holmes, and he wanted to write a Sherlock Holmes kind of book. He had a lot of health issues, and it's just unfortunate. I feel really bad for him because I was hoping, he'd be okay. I know he told me a couple times that his health was suffering, but then I found out that last couple weeks ago he passed away. And I just thought that was unfortunate because he was always a real nice person, kind of his own character. And I didn't really think there was anything bad to say about him. But I know his partner right now, she's kind of worried because she doesn't have a lot of money. And this comes back into burial. Like, it's really expensive to plan a funeral.
Oh,
Yeah. And I think she's kind of worried right now. So I guess his friends are like looking to try and help raise funds for the funeral. It's a little sad.
yeah. I'm sorry to hear that. Actually, I can tell you that in Taiwan, it's a practice that your employer will give you some money and some friends will give you some money when somebody in your family dies, because they're expecting that you will have expenses having to do with the mourning and the burial.
Oh, see, that's interesting. In this case, this person, I don't think he's ever worked. I think I don't know, like, the story behind it. He just never worked. He always wanted to write a story. He was just one of these people that I I don't think he wasn't a bad person or anything. He just never really worked. There are some
Okay.
people, yeah, but he was nice. You know, he's a nice person, so I don't think he's gonna have anybody that. But anyway, that's not here nor there. But the story sounds very interesting that you're watching in Taiwan.
Yeah, because I finished watching Meteor Garden, and that was set in China, in Shanghai. And it was basically for young people, very young people. And
Yeah,
yeah.
I
Oh, I think you're frozen. Can you move? I'm not sure which of us is frozen, but one of us is. Julia, are you still there? Well, I think we're going to have to probably call it off. So I'm going to terminate our current show. I hope everybody enjoyed watching it, but we don't appear to have Julia with us any longer. So have a wonderful Sunday and leave a comment if you have something to add.